Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. The Telecommunications Regulatory Commission in the Virgin Islands is proudly recognizing the 45-year contribution of its present CEO, Mr. Guy Malone. 12 of those years he has served as CEO. Joining us today is the distinguished man himself who has been contributing to the public service remarkably for the past 45 years. We're chronicling that journey and talking about some highs as well as perhaps some lows. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
As the winds start to whisper of approaching storms, it's time to safeguard your sanctuary.
Hey, have you checked your insurance policy lately?
Not recently, why?
It's very important to check your insurance policy before the hurricane season.
That's a good idea. I'll reach out to my provider and get some information.
Awesome. Come son, let's plan for emergencies together. We're gonna include your favorite comfort kit.
Thanks, Dad. That makes me feel safer.
We're packing extra medications and extra batteries for your hearing aid.
And by the way, don't forget my glasses.
Okay, Pops.
Alright, let me see. Okay.
Going on, dog? What you saying? You good?
You got truck? How you on here
Well,
doing?
I hear trimming some of the branches to make sure they don't cause a frig when the storm come.
Fair point. I gotta go clean out the gutter them down by me so nothing don't build up. You know how that could go sometime.
Makes sense. That sounds good. We gotta be prepared.
Facts.
Sometimes we get off track, but that's okay.
Yo, thanks for chilling with the dog today, you know.
Man, anytime, you know I got you.
Yeah, but the place so damn hot now. And you know the old people them say when it's so hot, a storm somewhere out there coming.
Listen, I rebuke that in the name of great God of the universe, okay? Let me move these stuff so they don't cause a problem.
Alright, me want my neighbor window get knocked out at
Facts.
all, my son.
Remember, we're in this together. Reach out to your community, lend a hand, and shield each other from the storm's challenges. A message from the Department of Disaster Management and 284 Media.
Just give me my service. Yeah. Just give me my service. Just give me my service.
Make the switch to CCT and get connected today. Unlimited talk, text, and data. Visit any CCT store or call us at 444-4444. CCT, Life Unlimited.
Welcome back everyone and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, we are joined by CEO of the TRC, the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission in the Virgin Islands, Mr. Guy Malone. Mr. Malone, welcome back to our platform and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ron. I must first say I really do appreciate you taking the time to hear my story, talk about my journey. I feel honored, so thank you very much.
Absolutely, you're most welcome. 45 years, quite a long time. You have served in various capacities at the TRC, which of course falls under the government of the Virgin Islands through the Ministry of Communications and Works. I want us to start back literally at 45 years ago. Much younger Mr. Malone. Tell us about your early beginnings at TRC.
All right, thank you, Ron. Boy, way back, I could remember the 30th of June was graduation day. It should have been a Thursday, but it rained a lot. So normally it's a Thursday, but our graduation was on Friday. And the Monday, which was the 3rd of July, 1979, my class had a beach picnic and I was supposed to be going to that picnic. But I got a call from the then permanent secretary in the Ministry of Communication and Work, rest her soul, Miss Etlin Smith, saying to me, she called me that morning about 8 o'clock saying she needs a messenger if I could come. I said to her, I have something to do. Maybe I can come tomorrow. She said, let me speak to your mother. And all I heard my mother said on the phone, he'll be late, but he's coming. And the rest was history.
Wow.
So I worked in the ministry as a messenger. And, you know, being a young man, a young boy, man, whatever you call it at that point in time, you know, you're full of energy. I just was a free spirit. And I had an incident, you know, an incident that changed my whole career. As the messenger, the then Chief Minister, Mr. Stout, Lavity Stout, asked me to go and buy him a cup of coffee. But he didn't do it in that way. He do it in a way that at that point I didn't like. So I stormed off and I decided I can't do this anymore. And by the time I reached home again, my mother was waiting on me, said, "You're going back and make sure you have an apology." And when I went back, I spoke to Miss Smith, apologized, but I said, messenger is not for me. I like electronics.
Okay.
And at that time, Ron, you had caring people in the government. Because all I said is I like electronic. I said I did very well in school in electronic. And I went away doing mine. She got me transferred to public works, and I worked in the store in public work, issuing the spare parts for the government vehicles and all. And I did that for a while. And then I got a call about, that was 79, and, you know, began the 82, saying, get ready to go to school in Barbados. And I'm like, what? I didn't fill out any application.
Right.
But you had caring people. I went off and I did electronics in Barbados at the Samuel Jackson Prescott Polytechnic. I did City and Guilds electronics, and, you know, I was successful in that. Came back, 82, I started working in the Ministry of Communication and Works with Mr. Arthur Swain as his assistant, and everything was done manual. I used to issue all the radio licenses. I was responsible for all, you know, everything, but I had to do it by writing. He was the chief officer, and I was his assistant. And, you know, we went off to Anegada, and I helped with him. We built the first amateur station, one in Anegada, one in Jos Van Dyke, and one in Virgin Gorda. And, you know, I worked for a while, and 1987, I told Miss Smith, you know, I feel bored, because Arthur Swin and I had a falling out, and he said, you know, he think I reached my academic ceiling.
Okay.
But his reasons for doing that, rest his soul, is that he realized I challenged him with everything.
Understood.
And at that time, he was getting old, so of course he wants to protect his job. I said to Miss Smith, you know, I'm bored. I could do a lot better than this. That's all I said. That was 87. I got a call to come to a meeting. You're going to England to university. And, you know, Ron, I went off and I did my engineering, electronics, you know, at Brunel College of Technology. I came back in 1990. Arthur Swain, at the time, I guess he was past 65. He retired, and I became the telecommunications officer at the time. And, you know, the rest, I worked my way up. I was responsible for the liberalization of telecommunication in 2005. You know, I spearheaded that with a team under Robert McTavish as the chairman of the committee. But I work with the consultants. I was the one who worked with the Telecommunication 2006 Act. You know, so I'm fast forwarding. In all those time, I was fortunate to go off and do a lot of short courses. I did everything you can think of in electronics. I went to USC. I went to Washington to work with the FCC. I went to Canada to work with Industry Canada, and I went to Switzerland to work with the ITU. Those are the three bodies that govern telecommunications in the world. And I had the opportunity to work with them, got my different degrees and training and certificates. And, you know, here we are. In 2007, the government, 2006, the government passed the legislation for the Telecommunication Act 2006. I was transferred from the government proper when we set up the statutory body for the TRC. And I came over and I worked with the TRC. At that time, they said we are just setting up a statutory body. So I was second in command. They brought in a person from Washington. He was a chief executive officer. I worked with him. And then he had a 2-year contract he didn't renew it for more than one reasons. And we had another guy from Lithuania, a young guy, and I worked with him side by side. And when he was leaving after 2 years, he said to the government that you don't need to look for a person outside. Guy Malone is the one who worked with me and he can do the job. And under Mac Vanderpool as the then permanent secretary in the ministry, I got a chance in 2012 to become the chief executive officer. And, the rest is history. Here we are.
Amazing. Now, one of the things that I love about your story, Mr. Malone, is the level of authenticity. And one of the things that you mentioned, of course, in naming some persons who were pertinent in establishing and helping you move along, is the fact that we had caring civil servants who would have allowed persons to not only find their calling and then find their footing, but assist them in getting them to the various training opportunities.
Yes.
As a CEO at this moment, when you look back at the journey and you really consider all of the variables that would have been included, the passing of various legislations, what would you say you are most proud of when you look at the evolution of telecommunications in the territory from when you began to where we are now? Because it's quite a journey.
It's quite a journey, and I'll say this, all the praises I want to give publicly is to my mother, because everywhere along the journey, even to today, my mother will call me and make sure that I stay focused, make sure that, I remember when I was going off to school to England, she said, money is one thing, but manners and respect will get you much further. Always be respectful. And I find over my journey, before we get to me answering the question, being humble, being always willing to take criticism. One of the things I do, Ron, is you can criticize me any way you want. I'm not going to get angry with you. I'm going to prove to you that I can do, because at the end of the day, none of us is perfect. So one of the things I would say, being proud of, within the commission is the journey that, liberalizing the market, working directly with the consultants. One of the things that I keep close to me is when the then NDP government went to England in 2000, I think it was 5, and they discussed with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office about the liberalization of telecommunication, because ITU mandated that all the countries need to liberalize, because you had monopolies, need to liberalize telecommunication by 2005. So I was charged with that, to liberalize telecoms. And at any time, I had nobody to work with. But what I remembered is when I went to school, one of my lecturers, his name Bill Wigglesworth, I used to call him for everything that I need, because at that time, it was either you send, you type something and you send a letter. It wasn't no email.
Wait for a response,
and all of that. So I would do a lot of writing, and I would get a lot of information from him, telephone calls, and he guided me. So when the Premier, Dr. Smith and Honorable Skelton went to England, they discussed with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office about liberalizing the telecommunication industry market in the BVI. A lot of people don't know, but the Foreign and Commonwealth Office paid 50% with the government. They partnered with them to liberalize.
Okay.
So when the Premier came back, and Ronnie, I had a meeting with them, and Ronnie said to me, Honorable Skelton said to me, Guy, I didn't know you were so well connected. I said, why? He said, well, the person who is coming to lead the charge said he knows you, he taught you, and you and him talk often about telecommunications, so he's happy to work with me.
The very same professor.
The very same professor, and he was the one who led the charge. And I work closely with those guys. So telecommunication is everything I know. And as I said, I'm proud that I was part of the legislation, and I can say I'm proud to be part of all the regulations that exist today for telecommunication in the BVI, I've been part of it. I work with before, but now as the chief executive officer, I oversee. I'm the person who would give approval before it goes to the board or before it goes to the House of Assembly to be enacted. So, at the end of the day, everything about telecommunications in the BVI. So for me, starting as a boy in this field, one of the things that I did was a lot of training. So when you look at my journey from time I came back in 1990 and I did all these short courses in the region, all these short courses in America, all these short courses in England, in wherever you can think telecommunication. I even went to Malta and I did legal telecommunications courses in Malta. It was a scholarship that was given and I was successful. I went and I did it, all of these. And so now, as I move about in the region and international, my name, everybody knows me.
Beautiful.
And, I'm recognized not only for doing 45 years here in my country, but if you talk about telecommunications in the region, you'll always hear my name.
One of the things that I look at, Mr. Malone, in hindsight, as we look at the evolution of the industry, and you mentioned, of course, with wanting to elevate that as much as possible. What are you looking forward to possibly continuously improve the regulatory commission here regards to telecommunications? Is there anything that improvement-wise that you would like to see us improve upon?
Many things. This industry, I had a conversation with my mother so that you can understand, and my mother's birthday is the 23rd of this month, and she's going to be 89.
Okay.
So in having a conversation, with her, I went down the road of getting to understand from her the evolution of telecoms, how she embraced it, what it means to her, coming from the dial-up telephone, and as today, my mother has a cell phone, and she depends on that. So she comes from an evolution where it was writing letters, it was sending fax, and I had that conversation with her and to see telecoms, where it is in the BVI compared to the rest of the world. We are a small market, so I understand the market. We are just like any other jurisdiction, but we are small. The terrain we have here is very hilly. So the cost of telecommunications it will always be expensive.
Okay.
It will always be expensive, but at the end of the day, quality of service, compared to the rest of our neighbors, we at the TRC, we want to ensure that quality of service always remains good, because at the end of the day, you're spending top dollars here to connect or to speak to your people. And at the end of the day, people have to understand that. For me, it's difficult because at the end of the day, when the consumers come down on the government will come down on the commission, and we have to come down on the operators. So it's a partnership. We regulate them. But for me, I always want us to be in touch and be realistic on what we can do, how we can do it better. Because at the end of the day, it takes a partnership. Yes, we spend money. We give a 15-year license. And the reason we give a 15-year license is we have to give the operators a chance to get a return on their investment. In doing so, we as the regulator, there's stuff that we have to do. We have to ensure that we monitor their quality of service, everything that they do. People complain about drop calls. People complain about peak time where the service drops out and stuff. And at the end of the day, what we at the Commission wants to ensure is that the operators speak to the public. We also speak to the public so that they can understand our role is not to come and do your job for you as an operator, but to work with the operators. If you think about a complaint, we have a mechanism in place. A complaint should be given if a consumer has a problem. They should speak to the person, the operator of choice that they have solicited that service from. And the operator should give them the best outcome. If they don't, then that's where the Commission comes into play. And we have, a quality of service mechanism where we want to ensure that they go through X, Y, and Z. So for me, I want to see a lot better comparing to the rest of the world, because I fight sometimes with the powers to be, I'll call it that everything that we do in the commission, the act stipulates how we do it. We just can't make it up. We have to follow a process. We have to consult on it. We have to ensure that the operators are in a good place with respect to agreeing. So it's a 30-day consultation if we want to change will from wit. Mm-hmm. So people need to understand that the commission has a job to do. A lot of people would say, Guy Malone and his crew at the TRC don't know what they're doing. Mm. But again, it is not that simple, because at the end of the day, everything that we do at the commission, we are liable to be taken to court by the operator, because at the end of the day, they're spending monies and all of the good stuff. So for us, what we want to see that each and every, the operators, the commission, the broadcasters, we all understand that it's a process we have to do, and at the end of the day, we have to do it right, because there are standards out there set by the ITU that we have to follow, set by the FCC, set by Industry Canada, that we all have to follow. We just can't make it up as we go along.
Amazing, and totally understand. I think it's important to bring that awareness to the public. Now, the TRC, your team at TRC, of course, is celebrating this monumental achievement of 45 years. Over the years, you would have worked with a number of persons. You would have seen a number of persons transition into different roles. But presently, when you look at your very solid TRC team who supports you in more than one way, what do you say about that support that you've been given in order to execute your duties as CEO?
The best word I could find for that is exotic.
Wow.
Exotic meaning I have a good team. I'll use one of my officers, and over the years I had a lot of different boards, and they would always say that somehow it seems like I curry favor this person, but it's not. Gregory Nelson.
Okay.
He is the Chief Spectrum Officer. When I got an opportunity to go to England, in my role that I had, Ms. Smith said to me, Guy, you're going off to school, but we need you to find somebody to sit in. Gregory Nelson lived in the same neighborhood that he's younger than me, he lived in the same neighborhood. I know he wasn't working at the time. He had just finished school. I went and I talked to him and I said, you have this opportunity, I'm going off to school. He was reluctant, of course. But today, Gregory Nelson is the Chief Spectrum Officer, because he took my word. He went the same at Smith, ensured that he got educated. He went off to university in the States, and I am very big at training. So I said it's exotic because I have staff, I have qualified people. I have Chantal Flaxwater as a Chief Legal Advisor. She was working with the government. When we liberalized telecommunication, the legal person for the regulator must have telecommunication experience. So we brought in a person from England. We brought in a few people. And at that time when I came, the CEO, I said, okay, we are bringing in people. I know this young lady. I had saw a clip where she had went and got called to the bar. So I said to my board, let us second her, let us bring her to the commission and train her. Because, over the years she would get the experience. Of
course.
We have that. We have Kevin Richards, our Chief Financial Officer. Those guys are qualified within their realm, We have Melissa Farrar, who came in and worked under Sarah Hayes, who was the chief economist and now is the top person for our economic person. So we have a team that we have grown. I can go on and on, but the team, I always say, if the TRC do good, it is not Guy Malone, it's all of us. If it does bad, it is not Guy Malone, it's all of us. So, and one of the buzzwords I use over the years with my team, if we don't do what we have to do, somebody's gonna come in and dictate how it should be done. Reason I say that is because we are a statutory body. We should work independent of the government. We do advise the government on policies, but the government, the act gave the minister of the day the powers to select a board.
Correct.
And of course, when the minister select a board, of course, the people that he would select would want to carry out his portfolio. So at the end of the day, the TRC is governed by a board of commissioners, which as a CEO, I am a CEO and also a commissioner, but at the end of the day, I have to answer to these people. And I always say to my staff, we are the professionals, so let's do the best job we can so that when it's delivered to the board, there is not a lot of scrutiny.
Understood.
And it works. It works because the team is dedicated. I remember one of the boards that I had, they give me a directive I can't remember, to do something. And I didn't thought it was right. So I had a discussion with my team. And out of that discussion, the team said, Mr. Malone, we have to follow the regulations. I made a decision and I worked with my team. And I went to my board meeting. When I went to my board meeting, they chastised me and I said, well, you can either recommend my dismissal, but I'm sticking to what? And that is what gave me the confidence and credit with respect to my team. So I always would say, even if I'm not there, the strength of the commission is the staff, because they understand. They are professionals in their own liking in the different portfolios that they are responsible for. And I'm just the person. I used to say, I am the captain of the ship. I'm trying to get it to Anegada, but there's a reef. And if we don't do what we have to do, we're gonna run aground. My job is to ensure we don't run aground.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I get the support.
Well said.
Most of the time.
Well said. Well said. One of the things that I want to ask you as we close, 45 years of service within the civil service is quite monumental. You have a generation coming behind you. I want you to speak to that generation as it pertains to dedicated service and finding your footing in whatever industry. It doesn't have to be telecommunications, but when you look at serving the people and giving back, what would you say to the up-and-coming professionals that will not only take over from you, but essentially lead the country moving forward?
Well, for me, what has worked for me, and we all are individual, I'm a very patient person.
Okay.
I'm a really cool, down to earth. I can't take a lot. I get angry, but what I do a lot is I critique myself and looking at the big picture, where I want to be, how I want to be. I could remember, to give you an understanding, when I was working for the government proper, I used to see a lot of things. And a lot of people used to get a lot of opportunity, a lot of promotions, and it was slow in coming for me. And I always used to say to myself, my turn is going to come one of these days. And it took a while, but it came. So for me, dedication. I can't sit here and not recognize one of the person that molded me, which was Radio Doctor, rest his soul.
Yes.
But I remember coming back from Barbados and have all this knowledge, don't know really, I understand it, but and I had a lot of conversation. I went and I talked to Radio Doctor. He said, Guy, you can come and work, but I can't pay you. I said, I wasn't thinking money. I just want to get experience. And I work with him and, repairs. And, one day, a person came and wanted to install a sound system in a car. He didn't have the time. He told me to do it. I said, but I never done it. He said, I know you can do it. And I did it. And when the guy paid, I gave him the money. He said, no, this is my way of now setting you up. And for years, I had that business of installing, systems in cars, alarms and stuff. That gave me confidence. And when I went off to school in England now, I did engineering, electronics with a concentration on radar. But I know here in the BVI, I'm not going to be able to use radar. But I still understand and remember it. So I had a British Council scholarship. I give them that scenario and I said, I want experience in telecommunication. And they got me a job for 6 months with Ofcom, which is the regulator in England. And I was responsible for registering all of the spectrum, the frequencies. You're talking about nuclear spectrums. I had an eye-opener. And I don't think you would remember, Ron, because you're a bit young. It was a time in England when the IRA used to be bombing cities in London.
Okay.
That's when I was there.
Okay.
And I work with, all of this, and that's where I got experience. So I would say patience to young people. You have to have a willingness. you have a willingness to learn. I will use this scenario when I say patient. My son Damari, he's now a grown man, but when he finished high school, he was like 16. Sent him off to school in Atlanta. And I was coming from some trip and I went to visit. And his international professor said, Guy, you love your son loves you, but your son is not ready for school. Do him a favor. When he comes home for Christmas, don't send him back. When he's ready, he's gonna let you know. I followed the professor's advice, and a year and a half, Damari came and said he's accepted at DeVry and he wants to go to school. And he did. So those are my experience with being just humble, being patient.
Timing, yeah.
Because you have to know what you want, And we as adults today, we put a lot of pressure on our kids and our youth with having a lot of expectation. Let them make some mistakes, because that's the balance. You're not going to be perfect from the outset, but you have to make mistakes so that you can have a balance in, okay, how am I going to do it better? I say to my children, don't be a follower, be a leader, so that if you make a mistake, you can always learn from it and make corrections. But if you follow somebody and they make a mistake, you're going to always be making mistakes.
Understood. Indeed.
So today, I'm not going to get into it. The country is, there's all kind of things happening. Me working from 1979 to now, I've worked under all of the government. Correct. I'm paying Social Security from 1980 to now. So I've contributed, I've done more than 500 contributions. So I've said that to say I've worked with all of the ministers, all of the government. And at the end of the day, I have my shortcomings, but what I would say is that this is our country. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, I listen to a lot of, people talking, and they always say, you must love yourself before you love others. I'm still struggling with that. But I say that to say, we have to love our country.
Absolutely.
If we want changes. So the young people, I would say, you love yourself and you have to love your country. Because at the end of the day, you would see, if I like sports, if you look at the Olympics, you can see the passion the runners have, the athletes have for their country. We have to have that passion in not just athletic, but everything we do, because it's our country. We, as a country, we were taught when we were young to accept the stranger that comes to our shores. But I think that sentence should, you should add something to that sentence. Don't forget your own, because we give everything to strangers and we forget to give something to our own. We should be, we should be proud to say that I'm gonna ensure Ron Grant get the best opportunity he can because he's a BVI lander. And don't worry with what no one say, because the BVI, this is yours. You go out and you get experience, but you come back and you bring it. And at the end of the day, if we don't set a standards, the young people is going to, as I say, a drunken man will grab a straw. And if we give them, if we give them what I would say, the reason that we aren't passionate with respect to, giving them the best opportunity. But again, they have to want it, and they have to understand that, there's no such thing as a free lunch. What you put in is what you're going to get out. So this is your country. Always be willing to go the extra mile, and you're going to have some pitfalls. Yes. But for me, everything about my life is longevity. I was patient from then to now. I'm married for 32 years.
Congratulations.
With my wife. December is going to be 40. So it's all just being patient. And, they're going to be, I had a lot of stumbling blocks because I'm not perfect. I'm a Taurus, so I'm stubborn. So at the end of the day, all these things I said, I am trying now to find myself, because I like to give, I like to help, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of things. Yeah. I never, I didn't have an opportunity to have things like my friend. I grew up in a neighborhood where, there were a lot of, my friends had mothers and father. I just had a mother. My mother was my mother and father. She had 6 of us, but she gave us the best that she can, manners and respect. She taught us to be humble. She taught us to be, and today, my brother and my 4 sisters by my mother, we all are close. We always looking for an opportunity for us to meet, for us to laugh, for us to go down memory lane, and that's what keeps me focused. So at the end of the day, for young people, it's about family is important.
Foundation.
The foundation. I say that to my wife all the time, and that's why I said the foundation. We build a foundation, and at the end of the day, at times we're gonna chip away at it, but we have to make it solid enough that when we have obstacles, we can survive.
Understood.
Same thing in a job. People bounce here and there. Nothing wrong with that, but at the end of the day, your character, your accountability, your integrity is what matters, is what people gonna want to give you an extra chance, why they're gonna want to, as we call it, make a gamble on you. So
most definitely. Well, on behalf of myself and my entire team here at CCTV, VET Cable TV, and 284 Media, we want to take an opportunity to simply salute you, sir, and thank you for your remarkable and distinguished dedication of service to the British Virgin Islands through civil service, and of course, particularly leading up to all the years at TRC. Your legacy will definitely continue, and for as long as you would like, we would appreciate the service that you continue to give back. So once again, thank you so much, and congratulations on a hefty 45 years of service.
Thank you, Ron. I do appreciate it. And as I said, praises has to be to the Almighty. Praises has to be to my mother, my brothers and my sisters, both on my mother's side, both on my father's side, because I live good with everyone.
Beautiful.
One of the things, I am the foundation with respect to everybody has a laugh about me. I'm the one who's always calm and cool in my family. At the job, I respect, and I always say to my staff, I love each and every one of you in a different way. I respect you all, and all I want in turn is respect, and to respect me. And then you have a job to do. Let's do it, because if you do good, I look good. If you do bad, I look bad. I watched a Netflix show a long time ago, and it was the CEO for, I can't remember the name, but it was a hospital, and he had a meeting with the staff, and he's like, what can I do to help? The next day I went and I called a meeting with all my managers, and that was my slogan. What can I do to help? Whatever your issue is, you let me know. I am strong enough, and I am patient enough to fight with my boat to get what needs to be done. I am big on training, because that's what gets me to where I'm at today. So I always want to ensure that my staff get an opportunity to get some sort of training. So I thank you. I appreciate it. I've been humble, and this is special for me, Ron, because in my 45 years, every time that the government had a recognition, I was always forgotten, because maybe I was somewhere training or somewhere traveling. So this is like the first, and it's there to me. My board and my staff give me a plaque when we had the last board meeting. I think it was last week, and I got emotional because I didn't expect it, but that's how much I appreciate it. So I want to thank you for this opportunity, you and your team.
You're most welcome. Viewers, you heard it here on 284 Media, life of dedicated service, which we can all emulate from. Celebrating 45 years of service, Mr. Guy Malone, our CEO here at the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission in the Virgin Islands. I want to thank you for sitting and enjoying this conversation. I hope you took away as much as I did. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.